trying here. This has been a true labor of love. We're still trying. I think that it seems to be loading up. I'm going to give it a second or three. See what's happening. Let's see if we can go 4 for 4. Let's see. All right, folks, we're 1 for 1 with Twitch. We're 1 for 1. We have Twitch. We're 2 for 2. We're 2 for 2. We got YouTube. What's going on? What's up, Chris? Salute. I'm navigating these different platforms, so appreciate you, Chris, checking in. This is the 4th or 5th time. And we're doing our darndest. No. Okay. But I'm on the live stream. I want to put the comments on the. I gotta navigate that now, because I'm over here now. I'm using this chat, using that chat. But welcome, Chris. Clearly, we're talking LeBron to Philly, amongst other topics. So feel free. Good news, Twitter is with us. That's good news. And then can we go 4 for 4? IG is with us. IG is in the building. All right. So we're 4 for 4. Welcome. Chris is in the building. The chat is a little bit different. Chat is a little bit different because it's being run through YouTube versus. So the chat, I'm going to have to head over to YouTube and get into the chat over here. But I got to learn. I'm learning on the fly here how to put take the chat from the YouTube and put it up, because I can see it, but I want everybody to join the conversation. So I'm going to have to try to figure out how to do that, being over here in YouTube live stream world. But we're here. We're here across the board. You know what it is. I know what it is. You know what I mean? Today's about LeBron James to Philly and how that changes the calculus. So that's going to be the guiding light for the program. But this is buying for the fans. So feel free to jump in. Let me know how you feel, and I will work. I'm gonna work out. Okay. Yes, indeed. Okay, we'll go to that. Indeed. So, Chris, appreciate you dealing with the technical difficulties. Let's rock and roll. You know what I mean? And hey, there's not gonna be any pity party here, even though SandCity's running behind about an hour. We're finally locked in, the place to be. You know what this is. I know what this is. Let's go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How y'all doing out there? Do the business. I am your host, all right. So I got to navigate. Some of the art is not going to come up on YouTube. That's unacceptable. Which is bothered. Well, I don't know. Let me know if you guys can see, because you're streaming through here, but I didn't see the intro where you guys are. All right. We're gonna have to do our best to make this work. So on and forth. LeBron to Philly is the conversation. Let me get the art up here on Riverside, and we're just gonna have to roll with the punches vis-a-vis the technical difficulties. I can see the chat in YouTube, as I've said, ad infinitum. I will be responding. I will be, we will be incorporating, if and we're just gonna make it move and groove from there. But King James taking his talents, and let me see. I have the first bit of art that I'm going to utilize. King James taking his talents to Philadelphia, making no bones about it. To me, that makes them the favorites to win the whole kit and caboodle in the N.B.A. I got Philly as the favorites. All right, you guys can let me know how you feel. Philadelphia 76ers, they're not contenders. They are the favorites to win the NBA championship writ large. That includes my New York Knicks. Yeah, I don't think, and y'all know how I feel about the Knickerbockers. You know how I feel about the first championship in 53 years. Okay. So it's coming through. You guys can see it on. All right, we're good. I feel less bad now. I'm over here navigating. You can see what I'm seeing on the YouTube. That's good. A little bit of a delay. I just got to bounce over here to keep up with the chat, and it pains me that we can't put the. I have to learn these things, how to take the chat and get it onto the screen. All right, that's bothersome. But you guys have heard enough. But at least we're all in the same place. The chat has to be dealt with. But you can see what I'm seeing. All right. Sixers are the favorites. My New York Knicks, loyal to the soil. Brunson, Alvarado. I'm talking about the New Yorkers. Cat. We're including Cat in this, even though he's from Jersey. Mike Brown, his leadership, the win streak that we saw in the playoffs. They're not going anywhere. Am I a prisoner of the moment? Where is Skip Bayless? Am I a prisoner of the moment for going with the new hotness? Am I showing a lack of fidelity to the New York Knicks because I'm saying the Philadelphia 76ers are the favorites to win the entire kit and caboodle? Is that being disrespectful to the Knicks? Am I a fair weather fan? Am I suspect? Am I untrustworthy? Any of those things? I think I'm a straight shooter. I'm just calling it how it is. SandCity Sports, we don't play hate, we congratulate around here. I'm borrowing this because I've been tuned into the programs today. But let's take a look at the IHOP. Maybe I'm IHOP here in the community is closing. I got to get over there this week, and they're closing on Monday. Shout out to IHOP. Shout out to late night pancakes. Okay, sausage, bacon, eggs, grits, all that good stuff. Shout out to IHOP. They're closing here in the community, which is crazy. So I got to get over there to check them out. Okay. Philadelphia 76ers, guys, everybody in the starting lineup has averaged 15 points or more, including that youngin, Mr. VJ Edgecombe. You have Tyrese Maxey, All-Star. You have VJ Edgecombe, Rising Star, All-Star. Okay? You have Jaylen Brown, MVP candidate. You have LeBron James, MVP winner. You have Joel Embiid, MVP winner. I'm wrong for saying that starting lineup is better than my New York Knicks, who jettisoned a capable coach in Tom Thibodeau, but brought in Mike Brown to go ahead and get the job done. Am I wrong for saying Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, Joel Embiid, 2 MVPs, 1 MVP candidate, an all-star, and a rising all-star is better than Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG, the last OG, Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns? Right? 2 all-stars and 1 rising all-star in Mikal Bridges. I'm wrong for saying that the Philadelphia 76ers are the class of the Eastern Conference? I don't think so. I mean, what do we call that keeping it 100? Does that take away the fact that I'm born in the great state of New Jersey? Something you all know that I'm very proud of. And what you guys out there in television land might have remembered is that I have family from the city of brotherly love, still in the city of brotherly love, those being my cousins. Okay, my aunt has moved out of the city of brotherly love and into the surrounding areas. But cousins are still in Philly, and that's where I spent my formative years, folks. So what are we doing? Right? Y'all saying I'm not 10 toes down on Philly? Now let's be clear. I'm not jumping ships from the Knicks to the Philadelphia 76ers. All I'm saying is I got love for both teams. And as far as I'm concerned, the love is historic. Born in Jersey, family in Philly, grew up in New York, Rockland County, TZ Bridge. We don't acknowledge the Mario Cuomo. All right, so there's favor on both sides of the aisle. Okay, but the Sixers, in terms of the move that they made, their roster is better. Roster's a little bit better. All right, so let's get into this. A lot to get into. Never mind, right? I'm past this prologue. I'm rolling with the punches. I hope you guys are too. SandCity is not, we're not talking about, all right, the what, the who, when, and the where, and the how, till I'm grabbing my hair, and we're not talking about that on SandCity tonight. I'm happy to be here. I'm in the building. I made it. Okay, so this is a beautiful thing. Excited to get here. We had a little bit of this, a little bit, okay, but we here now. So we're gonna get this thing rocking and rolling. Hold up. Did I just see it? Okay. All right, we navigating the production side of it. Beautiful thing. But let's get our art. We got to get the art up on the screen. The good people on YouTube can see the art. All right. And as far as I know, and people can let me know that we have a good connection, so everything is good on YouTube. Only thing that's different is the chat. I got to navigate the chat, and I'm trying to figure a way to get the chat onto the screen where it needs to be. Yes, I need timestamps. Give me the timestamps. Give me the reactions. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on. No, I don't even know what pinned means. I'm exposing myself. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get the commentary unpinned. I want to take I want to take the comment. I want to put it on the dog on screen. I'm gonna have to. It's gonna drive me crazy. But I think I'm good. We got timestamps. We got. Hold on. Restore my chat. Now I can see. Chris has said a couple. Get the freak. Hold on. I'm going to have to go to pop-up chat so I can see what the heck is going on. All right. It's all good. I'm seeing that. Appreciate you, Chris. We're going to keep it moving and grooving. All right. We got to, what do they say on Broadway? They say the show must go on. The show is going on, folks. Okay. So here's one of the layers for us to get to. Right? One of the layers for us to get to. So much. You guys know who Lebron is? Do you know who that is? Do you know who Lebron is? The young man currently making more money than LeBron? Folks, not about the money. Not about the money. Which is another reason early indications, the Sixers, this is, as they would say in Brooklyn's finest, shout out to Antoine Fuqua, as I learned, vis-a-vis Chris in the chat, Antoine Fuqua directed the Michael Jackson movie, of which I have not heard a negative review. As I learned in Brooklyn's finest, which everybody needs to see, if you love Training Day, please go ahead and see Brooklyn's finest. Do yourself a favor. Okay? You can thank me later. Or in advance, or later. It's up to you. As I learned, okay, certain things, as they say, are on the strength. This is on the strength for LeBron James to come to Philadelphia and restore this fan base with a championship, the first since 1983, the faux, which we're going to discuss. LeBron is coming to Philadelphia on the strength. Jaylen Brown is in Philadelphia on the strength of the disrespect that he suffered in Boston. Tyrese Maxey from the John Calipari tradition is in Philadelphia on the strength of putting respect on his name. Joel Embiid is in Philadelphia. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Right? On the strength of getting his first championship. So he can take that burden off of his back. And we see LeBron James making less money. Now, he's made his money clearly, but you still have your market value. LeBron James is over here making less money than LeBron Fillon. So this Sixers team in the second apron era can be stacked to and through the ceiling. Not about the money. This is on the strength. We talked about it, one for all for one, Three Musketeers. They got 5. Philadelphia has 5 and a bench. Folks, what are we talking about here? 5 go-getters and a bench. All right. God almighty. So we navigating again. So let me know. I'm trying to keep up with my commentary. Some reason. There we go. I had to change the settings, make it the live chat. So now I can see what the heck is going on. But a couple people chimed in. Everybody's welcome. Please go ahead and jump in. No, I didn't want no channel activity. I'm trying. I'm exposing that I didn't take those classes that I needed to take. Where there's a will, there is a way. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put a user in timeout. I want to. This is crazy. All right, folks. Stay with me. We're gonna keep moving and grooving. I can. All right. The good news is the status is excellent. So you're seeing what I'm seeing. We're navigating the chat to include people. Let's see where we are. Madness going on. Twitter is still good. IG. Do I need to? Can IG please? All right, good. IG is good. Thank you. I'm right. I'm gonna be spending a good amount of time tomorrow, working out these kinks, these technical difficulties that I'm learning. But it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. However you slice it. So I'm fortunate. I'm happy to be here. Is what it is. I'm happy to be in the building. Okay, particularly on a day like today. LeBron taking less. Philly stacked roster wise. They're the favorites. Now, does that mean that they're the favorites on 2K and not right? Are they the favorite? We keep having to make that distinction, right? The Sixers are the favorites across the board. What gives me why you see, I had to think about that, right? I had to pace that out. The reservation that I have, and you guys out there in television land may have as well, as I get myself. Okay, good. Let me slide over and get my seating straightened out here. Okay. You guys out there in television land, all right, I'm good. Got my back support and everything. You know what I mean? I told you I got that lower lumbar, which I borrowed from LeBron. I borrowed the lower lumbar from LeBron James. I don't mind sharing with you. Right? Today's LeBron. I got to make sure my back is. I saw LeBron having one of these when he was on the when Bryce and Bronny were on the EYBL circuit, and LeBron was going to one of the events. He had one of these bad boys. I said, hey, I'm at a desk part of the day, educating the other part of the day. I said, let me get one of these, good back support, and it's working out for me. You guys, this is a game change. You're sitting down, and we have to. I'm not the spring chicken that I used to be, but that's not really the point. I sit down for a certain amount of time, then I have to get up. I got to move around. I gotta stretch it out. I can't just be sitting. So we have to always watch that. But while we're sitting, no reason why we can't have the good support. All right. So I got this, my back support. Get that straightened out. Everything good. so that we can, so that we can have a good program. Oh, you know what this is, and as we Sand City. Sand City is what? Shout out to the flag man, extra comfy shirt. Shout out to Plenty Sneaks. Appreciate Plenty Sneaks for the design of SandCity Sports. So it takes a village, folks. It most certainly takes a village. It's not just me. So many folks have encouraged and supported SandCity Sports in so many in different ways. And it's a beautiful thing. Let's go. All right. Are we good? We're good. Everybody add emotes. No. All right. This is going to shoot myself. It's probably something so simple. It's just 1, 2, 3 to get these chats up. Over. No. All right. So we're going to start with the money piece. It's not about the dollars. All right. It's about the strength. Okay. And we're going to dive into that more as well when I say we're doing this on the strength, which I borrowed from Brooklyn's finest. There's layers, but first, okay, LeBron taking that small bite of the apple. Okay, so other guys, the youngster, Mr. Philon here, have we forgotten that they have Anthony Simons? Folks, did that not cross people's mind? Okay, there's talent. Okay, there's talent, and then there's more talent, right? For these for these 76ers. But in terms of the bottom line, that's the bottom line. In terms of the dollars, okay? In terms of, as Cam Newton would say, shout out to Cam, shout out to 4th and 1. Been in the news in terms of some of the changes that are going. 4th and 1 is on point. Again, Sand City, we don't play. Hey, we congratulate on here. That's pod is on point. Cam brings a unique and distinctive element to the different programs, right? So shout out to Cam. But one of the things I borrowed from Cam, because I cite my sources. We cite our sources on SandCity Sports. Okay. This isn't all about the munyan. This ain't about the munyan. All right. This is bigger picture. There's legacy considerations, and then there are also geographic considerations. Legacy considerations, and we'll talk about the LeBron and Michael because that's the gift that keeps on giving. But there's legacy considerations for a lot of folks. Okay, Embiid, Jalen, Maxey, right? A lot of folks with something to prove. Okay, so let's keep it moving and grooving. Get our art up. Yeah. As the dynamics Okay. A lot of different graphics. But let's just go with the basics. See that their championship odds improved about 10%. For me, I think that number should be a bit higher. Again, prison of the moment, so on and forth. I don't think so, but we discussed the money, the manyan. As Cam would say, we discussed that manyan. Right now, let's take a look player to player at legacy. We've talked manyan. Let's talk legacy. All right. LeBron in the continual conversation. LeBron in the continual conversation with a one Mr. Revolving around one Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Okay. But let's take it a step further and discuss the legacy implications for each of the Musketeers. All right, folks. Okay, you want to be that guy? You need to walk point. We see LeBron James out front and center here. Does that mean that he is the leader of the Philadelphia 76ers? Absolutely not. Okay. And these are the conversations and the questions that need to be answered. I've made my statement. I'm sticking to the statement that the Philadelphia 76ers are the favorites to win the N.B.A. championship, the N.B.A. championship. But we're not even through day one of the 2026-2027 Philadelphia 76ers. And yes, talent-wise, it's all there. But, folks, so many variables that you have to navigate over the course of the season. Okay, not going out and feeling like something negative is going to happen, i.e. players not being healthy, them not having their whole entire lineup, so on and forth. Beyond that, let's have this conversation in the best of all possible worlds where every team is fully healthy and has their full complement going into and throughout the regular season and playoffs. What I'm saying is heavyweights, the head that wears the crown, it needs to be understood in Philadelphia who is wearing that crown. And as far as I am concerned, all right, the straw that stirs the drink in Philadelphia needs to be Tyrese Maxey. Right? He is. Now, hold on a second. Let me preface this. I can't give him that. No. Jaylen Brown is their best player. Jaylen Brown is their best player. Tyrese Maxey is their second best player. Their third best player is LeBron James. Fourth best player is Joel Embiid. And the fifth man in the only starting lineup to have each player averaging over 15 points a game is VJ Edgecombe, the youngin of the group. JB, Tyrese, LeBron, Embiid, Edgecombe. That's the pecking order, talent-wise. All right, and 2 of your top 3 players, talent-wise, just showed up. And your player with the most chutzpah, right? Your player with the most chutzpah, Troel Embiid, is your 4th most talented individual on your roster. All right? That has to be worked out. JB is still offended, as far as I'm concerned, based on what happened in Boston. And out to prove something. All of these guys have something to prove, which is a part of, right? The Knicks want to stay where they're at. No doubt in my mind, they're determined to do so. No doubt in my mind, they don't want to be the Denver Nuggets. They don't want to be a one-hit wonder, a flash in the pan. The Knicks want to continue to be in the championship conversation, and as James Dolan said, not have there be a half-century wait in between banners being raised into the rafters. There's redemption stories across the league and across the Eastern Conference in particular. Cleveland coming in furious. Something to prove. Detroit, after an offseason that's been rocky, coming in with something to prove. Orlando, Miami, 2 teams in the Sunshine State. Something to prove. All right. But specific to this Sixers team, this first year, right? Super teams, right? That first year is when you have to capture lightning in a bottle. And there's no guarantee that you will. What do I mean by this? Does anybody remember what the second iteration of the Portland Trailblazers that were too deep? Okay, that had Damon Stoudemire, that had Greg Anthony, okay, that had Steve Smith, that had Scottie Pippen, that had Detlef Schrempf, that had Rasheed Wallace, that had Jermaine O'Neal, that had Bonzi Coleman, that had Arvydas Sabonis, that had Brian Hill. All right, folks? How about the 99 Houston Rockets that had Charles Barkley, that had Scottie Pippen, that had Akeem Olajuwon? Right, those 2 teams represent cautionary tales for this Philadelphia 76ers roster that I've just said are the favorites to win the NBA championship. Okay. But who have major culture issues to work with. Right? Because we have 5 players, 3 of whom your 2 MVPs in Embiid and LeBron, and your top 3 finisher in Jaylen Brown. I got to double check if he was 3 or, where JB was. We had was JB in the top 3 this year? Your Gilgeous Alexander, MVP. Wemby was 3rd. Luka was 4th. Cade 5th. Okay. So Jaylen Brown falling outside the top 3 in the MVP conversation, but certainly in the conversation. Right? LeBron, JB, and Embiid used to getting their way. Maxey, best player, second best player on the team. But, that rising star. Edgecombe, young in this process, figuring it out. Folks, Miami Heat were up 2-0 against Dallas Mavericks in 2011. 2-0, high-fiving. All right. Dallas Mavericks weren't blinking. Okay, they remembered what happened in 2007, 4 years prior. Okay. They'd been through playoff collapses. And because of that Dallas Mavericks team brought in Jason Kidd, traded away Devin Harris, the more talented player at that particular point in time in their career. Jason Kidd was on the back half of his career. Devin Harris was ascending, and he would make an all-star game for the New Jersey Nets, and then not heard again after that. But they brought in Jason Kidd to be that veteran presence. Okay. Right? When you're in the battle, when you're in the foxhole, it's immense to have soldiers that have been in those moments that can help you, okay, when you're up against it. Right? And so Jason Kidd being there, their culture being firm, veterans, Dirk had been there, right? Jason Terry. They lose 2 games on the road. They're not budging. And what did that Dallas Mavericks team do? Went ahead and won 4 straight games and a championship. The more recent example would be in 2021. Phoenix Suns up 2 games to nothing against the Milwaukee Bucks, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, but built on a culture centered around Drew Holiday. Okay, supported by Chris Middleton. Veteran guys who weren't going to blink, who weren't going to point fingers, who were going to trust the process. Right? And go down with the ship if needed. These guys were ready to go down with the ship. This Philadelphia 76ers team, just established today, they're going to have to do the soul searching. Right? They're going to have to do the soul searching. They're going to be in those moments. And can they, like the Miami Heat did after the 2011 season, collapse, streamline this roster vis-a-vis roles and responsibilities, right? As far as I'm concerned, offense runs through Maxey and JB. Those are the two best players. Right? Now, clearly you have other options. LeBron is going to need to get down on the block at times. Embiid can certainly get down on the block, as he did during the Celtics series. Both of those players give you that ability to go inside, especially in this N.B.A. of threes and layups, or threes and dunks. And just keep shooting them, because the more you take, the more you make, and that's how you get yourself into leads, and that's how you take yourself out of leads. At a certain point in time, we need to slow it down. We need to go into the post, okay? And LeBron James in year 24, happy to do that. Joel Embiid in year, okay, not 24, but, 10 plus, is willing to do that. And also, by the way, Jaylen Brown can get down there on the block and handle business. But the offense, right? You can't have 4 players above the free throw line. You can't do that. Right? And these guys won't always be on the floor at the same time, but in money time, they should be on the floor at the same time, because this is their best lineup. Right? Golden State Warriors in years past called it the death lineup. Iguodala, Draymond, Steph, Clay, and Barnes. Draymond at the 5, Iggy all everything at the 4, Barnes at the 3, Clay and Steph. Don't need a center. We're just going to out-talent you. And when I say out-talent, we're going to out-together you. Let's go around, see how we're doing. Late, but it's a Friday. We're good on the IG. Twitter is good. Appreciate you on Twitter. Some improvements, right? We're making some improvements. Making some improvements. Learning Twitch. I dare say Twitch is good. Twitch has been consistent. Twitch is good, and it just, I just got to work out. I'm thrilled that we're live streaming on YouTube, the mothership. We're here. Okay. But I got to get the situation worked out on YouTube, this connection worked out on YouTube, so that I can put the chats up. But it is very good that I can, okay, manage, yada, yada, yada. There's a pop-out dashboard. I don't need that. What the heck does that mean? I gotta learn all my jargon. All right, folks. We're going to keep moving and grooving. SandCity by for the fans. I see. All right, I'm learning. You're learning. I don't know if you're learning. I know that I'm learning. I know that I'm learning. Hopefully sooner rather than later. All right, and we continue forward. But out there in television land is doing good. Streams are going. They're healthy. That's the number one thing. All right. Okay, not sure what that's about. I dual stream. I do like that. We can let people know what the heck the program is about. All right, so this is all good. We got the health. And the health is the wealth. Mm. Mm. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Ask folks what their opinions are. That's about. All right. Okay, that's good. We got the live chat. I can dig that. It's just like. Alrighty. Let's check the other. Okay. A couple other things that we need to establish before we look at some comps. Okay. Let's start with the elephant in the room. One of the elephants in the room. There's multiple. We got multiple elephants in the room. Everybody out there good? Everybody in television land good? That's good. People know where to find me. I'm here. It's good. All right, folks, let's talk Joel Embiid's health. Important thing that I learned years ago that I need to lean into, folks, is that the health is the wealth. Health is wealth. Wise man told me that. Certainly right. Number of times over. Health is wealth. Okay. Joel Embiid hasn't been healthy for a full season in many moons. Don't see him being healthy for the majority of next season. Don't see it happen. All right, but here's the thing. And this, right, on the benefit side. On the challenge side for this team, right, is they have to find themselves. Got to find themselves on the fly and under pressure. Okay. On the benefit side is that Sixers need Joel Embiid for 16 wins during the spring. So they need him for a minimum of 16 games, right? Maximum of, what are we talking? Hold on. Yeah, the first round. No, excuse me. No, yeah, 4 rounds. First round, divisional round, conference finals, chip. So to 16. Get my math right. Okay. Maximum of 28. Right when the playoffs come around. The regular season for Joel Embiid is all about the postseason. So what that means, in my mind, is that Joel Embiid can play half of the regular season. and be good. The Sixers can have him in the rotation for half of the regular season, talented as they are, and be good. All right? You need prime Joel Embiid, and the Sixers have known this forever. And it's no different this year in terms of their strategy. The Boston Celtics just happen to be on the wrong end of that strategy, right? Because Joel Embiid finally came back healthy when the Philadelphia 76ers were down 3-1 against the Boston Celtics, and he spearheaded their comeback to unseat a team that people thought, could be in the mix. Right? And then there's a backlash. How can this team we thought that was going to be in the mix lose to Philadelphia 76ers team? That's a 7 seed. Well, that 7 seed was never healthy during the season, and they finally got healthy and were better. And that's with Jason Tatum, who came back, certainly without Tatum, more so. And then, of course, because the Celtics didn't have their full complement, specifically Drew Holiday. Right? So the correlation there is, all things being equal, 76ers employ the same strategy. First of all, they're not going to be a 7 seed. Second of all, they're not going to be down 3-1 in the playoffs when Joel Embiid is finally able to come back healthy. Third of all, he might not miss the majority of those first 4 games because there was no rush for him to come back during the regular season when his services were needed sporadically. Right? You take a look at this Infinity Gauntlet with all the all the gems on it. You can take one of those gems out, i.e. Joel Embiid, and with your Fantastic Four still be good. More than good. Right? JB is going to miss a game or two here and there, but he's got something to prove. He's certainly not missing any divisional games against the Knicks or the Celtics. He's not missing any of those games. All right? We know that. But JB, with this chip on his shoulder, after being smacked in the face multiple times with the baby powder, is coming out, as he said in his tweet today, throw the ball up. He's ready to rumble from day one, okay, through the end of their journey, presumably in June. He ready to rumble throughout the whole kit and caboodle. And he's in a place in his life and career to do that. He's in his prime. Tyrese Maxey, young lion, ascending, okay, supersonic energy. Tyrese Maxey, second year, identical. Right? So those 3 right there, okay, that's your engine. LeBron James, he's going to miss games. He's going to miss games. And he should miss games because it's about those 16 dubs in the spring for you to get the best of LeBron James in year 24. By the way, amongst all of the posts and what we've seen today, LeBron up early in the gym, his 5 o'clock workout. It's a guy that spends the moolah, the dinero, on his health, strength, and conditioning, so on and forth. Another thing about LeBron, when you have arguably the best job on the face of the earth, right? When that's your chosen vocation, why wouldn't you want to show up to work? Right? When you have, the best job. So LeBron's going to be there. All right, but he doesn't have to power the ship. All right, he is a leading voice as the ship makes its way through the challenging waters of the NBA season. But when he needs to take some time, a couple games off, maybe head back to the left coast to visit his family, all good. There's enough in the starting five, and there's room on the bench. Talk about Anthony Simons, ready to go. Wade, 3-and-D guy, and the Sixers aren't done dealing now that they are the talk of the town. Right? So in terms of the egos, in terms of usage, we're talking about a marathon, not a sprint. So within the course of that marathon, okay, there's times for each of these guys to go out there and get it and to be featured. And of course, when you're winning, right? How the heck did the Atlanta Hawks have 4 N.B.A. All-Stars one year under the capable leadership of Coach Buck? Because they were winning. So you get it. That's how you get a Kyle Korver in the All-Star game and an Al Horford in the All-Star game. They're winning. I think Smoking Joe Johnson was on the team in those days. Right? How do you get a Steph and a Clay and a KD and a Draymond? They're winning. So even though your usage is down, your player efficiency, if you're applying yourself and not resting on your laurels, goes way up. Okay? So when players start talking about, I needs to get mines, not that I feel this group on the surface of it is going to go down that road. Could they go down that road? Could this go sideways? We will discuss. Yes, it most certainly could and may. But you see, there's opportunities for them. Okay? LeBron, he's going to take his nights off. Embiid, he's going to take his nights off. Right? And that's the time, baseball players might be able to appreciate this. When you're going up against a weak pitcher and you're in a slump, hey, that's when I gotta go for the cycle. All right, I'm not taking it easy on this pitcher who I've got timed up and because we're beating them 7-0. No, we're going to beat them 17-0. And this is the night where I can get those percentage points back for my batting average. Taking it light. When the Sixers play against the Pelicans, play against the Sacramento Kings, play against the Dallas Mavericks, that's the time to score 160. Ain't taking it easy on you guys. Okay? We got mouths to feed over here, folks. What are you talking about? And that effective management, okay, is why now we don't know. Okay, we don't know. But it's there. It's possible. Okay. It's possible, folks. So there's challenges, no doubt about it. All right, and there's some some heavy duty. There's some heavy duty opportunities. All right. We got challenges and we got heavy duty opportunities. How's everybody out there doing? Again, it is what it is. All right. There were technical difficulties. Those were managed. Those were navigated. I ain't making no excuses. None whatsoever. I'm blessed and highly favored to be in the building, to have this opportunity to do my passion project. Ain't no two ways about that. None. Okay, how the program is coming to you. We'll be spending some time tomorrow to take a look at the odds and the ends and make sure that we don't have these hiccups. Okay. All right. Twitch is super good. The connecting with YouTube needs to be ironed out. That's been at issue. Okay, it's not going to hold me back again to the point where I had to have 5 redos. That's not going to happen. Maybe 1, but it's not going to happen 4 or 5 times. Not again. I know that much. I do know that much. But I want to get those things worked out. Get my servers worked out here. So on and forth. Right? Okay. But take a minute or two. And those who may be tuned in, however it is, you tuned in. As they said in the League of Their Own, if you're out there, and you have to be out there because this isn't a powerful broadcast. Hey, let me know. Let me know how it's going for you. Okay. So next up, Philadelphia 76ers are all the rage. New super team, folks. But it isn't the first time that we've seen this. Okay? Yeah. Not the first time that we've seen super teams come together. All right? And on paper, be championship contenders. All right. All right. This right here, Scottie Pippen taking his talents to Houston, teaming up with a Charles Barkley, also taking his talents from Phoenix to Houston. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, we put 3 first ballot Hall of Famers together, and hey, you understand? We got championships. We're going to win championships. Right? On the face, Scotty. Right? Take a look at some other folks that were on that roster. You might have had a young Steve Francis in the mix. All right. All over 30. Okay. Rudy Tomjanovich knows his business. Katino Mobley. Youngster Andre Miller. And a couple other names. Journeyman. Antoine Carr. Coming over from the Utah Jazz. And Big Stanley Roberts center at LSU before Shaquille O'Neal. Roderick Rhodes out of Kentucky. Talent off the bench. And how did that work out? Okay. We understand how this could have worked out. This is Scottie Pippen's chance to win a championship without Michael Jordan. This is Charles Barkley's opportunity to win his first N.B.A. championship. Right? Guys can come together. They can motivate each other. Okay. They're going to be unselfish. There's going to be role acceptance. Right? This is an ace. Right? You have the talent. And then you have not just talent, but you have connected interests. Okay, each of these guys had something to gain. And I say each as if you can see more than just Scottie. I know Scottie is the beginning, the genesis, if you will. Okay. But just to take us back down memory lane, folks, this was going to be the beginning and this is February 99, my junior year in high school. All right, challenging times. Junior year, coming of age. Wasn't able to play basketball that year on a team. That was challenging, very much so. And dealing with, having responsibilities at home, and had a dog named Splash in those days. And yeah, it's a challenge. You got to, know that informs and inspires me these days. And I think I have challenges, and you say, man, it was much more challenging in those days in a lot of different ways. Didn't have, as much independence and family, working on so many different things. So, it's challenging. Okay. It was challenging. Just give me a quick flashback. Who was our 1999 national champion? It's a good question. I remember 2000, my senior year. It was the Flint boys, the Flintstones, against a talented team. Against a talented Florida team led by Mike Miller and including Teddy Dupay, who I got a chance to meet at basketball camp when I was young. So 2000 was the Flintstones, and of course 99 was the UConn Huskies. Again, that's instructive for our conversation. The UConn Huskies winning the national championship in 99. And who did they steal a championship from, folks? Okay. A supremely talented Duke Blue Devil team. Very instructive for our conversation, and we can get that up there for you on the screen. A Blue Devil team featuring a one Mr. Elton Brand, a one Mr. Trajan Langdon, a one Mr. Shane Battier, a one Mr. Corey Maggette, a one Mr. William Avery. On and on and on. A team that the very next year would get a Jason Williams, Mike Dunleavy Jr., and Carlos Boozer. But that 99 team, overwhelming favorites to win the NCAA championship. UConn Huskies team under the capable leadership of Jim Calhoun, led by one Mr. Khalid, okay? Bodyguard in a different way, round mound of, not a round mound of rebound, but a round mound of assist. One Mr. Khalid El-Hameen, one Mr. Rip Hamilton, Jake Voskel at center, not intimidated. All right, let's throw the ball up. You got to guard us. We got to guard you. Not intimidated. And it was a nip and tuck game, and UConn didn't back down, and they beat the more talented team in Duke. Yes, they did. Right? When we're talking about these super teams, they're going to get into the Achilles heel for super teams, as was the case with this Houston Rockets team, right? That had the alignment in terms of interests. Scottie needed a championship without Michael. Charles needed a championship in general. Hakeem needed a third ring to add to his all-time conversation. Right? And none of which would be achieved. I don't know if Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley have reconciled 30 years going on later. Right? Talent-wise, yes. Togetherness-wise, absolutely not. Okay. You look at this roster, these guys, excuse me. Don't always sneeze on the program. Occasionally I have to, I guess. Let's check. Hakeem and Charles, the elder statesman. Scottie, a little bit younger. Right? But how are they going to play? Who is going to take less? Okay. That becomes a major point of contention on this team. As far as I'm concerned, Hakeem is the straw that stirs the drink. And Scottie, yes, again, after playing with Michael Jordan, you need to take less. Well, that's been my entire career. That's what we need from you in 1999. And Charles Barkley, coming from Phoenix, you have to take less. To me, the pecking order on this team is Hakeem, Scottie, and Barkley. Charles, round mound to rebound. You're in Dennis Rodman mode right now. Well, I can score. Don't need you to score, Charles. Well, it's going to hurt my all-time, my career averages. That's what you're going to have to sacrifice if you want to win a championship. We're going through the big fella and dream. If he doesn't have it going, next up is Scottie. Okay, Scottie, go get it. Charles, you're that third option. Yes, third option. We go through Hakeem, we go through Scottie, whatever's left, Charles, that's what you can get while you're rebounding. Charles Barkley never known as a great defender. Okay. Capable defender, particularly when you look at him in the 80s when he got himself in shape, along with Moses Malone out there punching shots and staring at people. Capable defender, but not known as a great on-ball defender, but a stalwart rebounder. Okay. That was his role on this team. Not my turn, your turn. That my turn, your turn, folks, will scuttle a team. It scuttled the Miami Heat in 2011. That's why in 2012, they said, listen, we're not doing this YMCA nonsense anymore. It does not work. And this whole no. Where there is a hierarchy, right? Boston Celtics established a hierarchy when they won the championship in 2008. And the hierarchy was KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. That was a hierarchy. That's not that say that Ray was any less talented or less deserving, but the offense was going to run through KG in the post. They were going to run the screen roll with Pierce and Garnett, period, until you stop it. You're going to have to handle Garnett, who's a great free throw shooter, who can score all around. You have to deal with him on the block. And when you help, he's kicking it to Pierce, high post, mid-range, deadly. And if you secure both of those, Ray Allen is waiting in the corner, wide open, hand down, man down. We're not going to do, Ray, this is your turn. Paul, this is your turn. Kevin, this is your. You cannot get in a rhythm. It's easy for the defense to key in. And then guys start pressing. Oh, well, I got to get it this because I'm not going to get it back for another. No. Houston Rockets could not figure this out. Not just on the court, but off the court. I don't know if these three guys have talked since this season. Right? It's clear Scotty and Charles, that relationship was broken. And as far as I know, has not been mended. It's gotten personal. It's gotten just unnecessary. Right? There's nothing worse than, right, two of your greats who've, achieved so much. Right? And, right, there's antagonisms and there's hurt feelings and all that stuff. But to not be professional, to not maintain that decorum, that's you see something like that. It's like when you have issues in the family and two family members don't like each other, and then it becomes a mudslinging, right? It's hurtful to everybody, right? Okay, you two don't like each other. There's a lot of people that don't like each other, and some of those people who don't like each other are related. Okay, and y'all see things differently. You both have a right to your own vantage point. Those perspectives are not aligned. Therefore, the ease and the warmth and the symmetry is lacking, right? That in and of itself is hurtful. Guys, this is, when you see Life, solid movie, Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, under the late, great Bernie Mac as well, others. Life was a dramatic comedy. Life was more a drama than it was a comedy. Life was some hard-hitting stuff. Right? Just going across, making sure we're good on our platforms. Our platforms are good. It's a beautiful thing. Got excellent signal. Beautiful thing. Passion project. Yeah, okay, we good. All right, we good. Good. All right. Working out the kinks, the technical difficulties here and there. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, this team and the season that was not, the role acceptance that did not occur. All right. Okay. That's the Achilles heel of a super team. Right? Is the superstar is going to have to lose the super and just be a star. Okay, Scottie Pippen goes to another team. He could have been a superstar. Scored the points, got the accolades, and not competed for championships. But he could have proved that, and again, this is later on in Scottie's career, why he made these decisions to go to two super teams. And yes, in my mind, this is a super team. I don't care that these guys are all in their 30s. You put this roster together and you say, listen, we're going to Hakeem first and second. He's getting his touches in the paint and you can't hold him. If Dream doesn't have it, that, and again, this is Dream in 99, not Dream in 95. This is 4 years after Prime Dream. I can, right? He was on the shelf in 96. Wasn't happening. It's time for the Seattle Supersonics to take the reins. On the shelf in 97, or time for the Utah Jazz to take the reins. On the shelf in 98, again, time for Utah Jazz to take the reins. Okay? This might have been Charles. Did Charles do 2 years in Houston? Because I feel like this is his second year in Houston. Because I recall John Stockton hitting a 3 in 98. So if I'm not mistaken, Charles Barkley did 2 years in Houston because, Houston gets knocked out in a knocked-out drag, Let's take a look at that. Is it 2 years or 1 year for Sir Charles? So Charles came back to Houston for the 2000 season, didn't have anywhere to go. Wow, Charles was in Houston for 4 years. All right. '97, I think it's not 97 is the year, his first year in Houston, that they lose in the Western Conference Finals with just Dream and Barkley. How many rebounds? First year, Charles handles business. 19 points and 13.5 rebounds. Handling business. So maybe that was the matchup that we missed. Only plays 53 games, though. And then Charles would only play 42 games in 99. Goodness. So the injuries. 98, Barkley gives him 15 and 11, 12 rebounds. So he was boarding up. I gotta take that back. And Charles is giving you in only 42 games, 12 rebounds and 16 points. So he was doing what he's supposed to be doing on the boards. Just wasn't healthy. Particularly in 99, was not healthy. And then the relationship off the court goes sideways. Okay. Charles Barkley second in the MVP voting in 90. And then he wins his MVP in 93. Wasn't healthy. All right. And it was a lack of health off the court, and there was a lack of health on the court, is what I mean to say. And there was a lack of health in the locker room. So Charles was in Houston with Dream for a while. And 97 was the opportunity that was missed. We could have had a Bulls-Rockets finals in 97. We could have seen Dream versus Jordan, granted later on down the road, but we would have appreciated that. Okay, but it wasn't to be. You got to accept your roles. Okay, looking at it, Charles, I got to say, he's boarding up, scoring 16 points. Clearly, older guys and things get a little bit tougher, not as spry as you once were. But that's where, the old man game needs to come through for them. Right? You play against older guys, they stay in the same spot. They don't move and give you 30. Am I wrong? Okay. The body is not what it used to be, but the mind is. The mind is what it used to be. Right? There was more for this Houston team that was out there. And this is a cautionary tale, folks, as we keep moving and grooving. This is one cautionary tale for the 2027 Philadelphia 76ers. All right. On paper, it was one thing. Day to day, it was another thing. Okay. We got to keep moving and grooving here, folks. SandCity in the building, passion project all day, every day. Lebron taking his talents. To the city of brotherly love. Okay. I have them as the favorites. Does that make me a prisoner of the moment? Okay. You can let me know. I'm letting you know. All right. That we've been down this road before. All right. The Black Mamba might not have blasted off if not for a 14-point comeback in Game 7 against a super team. Yes, 14-point comeback in game, super team. And that super team being not the Los Angeles Lakers, led by a one Mr. Shaquille O'Neal and his sidekick Kobe Bryant. That wasn't a super team in 2000. Okay. The super team in 2000 was the Portland Trailblazers. And let's get them for you on the screen so that you can see. Right? But the first question that we have before us, folks, would Kobe be Kobe if he conceded this first championship to Portland in 2000? Would Kobe be the Black Mamba? Right? Folks, if we remember, take that trip down memory lane. All right. This series was set up as 2 deep, as in TWO, 2, 1 and 2, Shaq and Kobe versus 2 deep, TOO. You know, this Portland Trailblazers team with talent, you're just seeing Brian Grant there. You're not seeing the others. Okay, 2 deep versus the squad with all this talent. How did that series play itself out? I ask you again, folks. Who was the more talented team? It was this team. No two ways about it. Going to dive deeper into that. Portland Trailblazers, pound for pound, muscle for muscle, far more talented than the Los Angeles Lakers. All right. But are we talking about basketball or football? How many players can we have on the court at the same time? Okay. Right. This is not football. We're not on the gridiron. We're not talking about a battalion. Our best 5 and your best 5. So even though the Lakers, right? Even though the Lakers are 6, 7, 8 deep, and Trailblazers 9, 10, 11, 12 deep, the game is going to be 5v5. Right? So what do we see in the early rounds? Early games, 2 deep. TWO, the Los Angeles Lakers versus all the talent in the world. Okay, Lakers jump out to that 2-0 lead in the series. Right? And that 2-0 lead extends itself to a 3-1 lead. All right, Portland has their backs up against the wall. Okay. And where do we go from there? Portland down 3-1. All right. Just checking in. Love to see the young folks doing well and Working hard. Lakers up 2-0. Lakers take a 3-1 series lead. All right, and then Portland says enough is enough. Okay. We're not doing the my turn, your turn. We're not doing the equal opportunity, right? We're putting our best lineup on the court. We're shortening our rotation. Okay, and we're going from there. Right, we're going to get to that in a second, but when you have a front court of Arvydas Sabonis, and again, a similar thread here, we're talking about an older Arvydas, talking about older Arvydas, just like we were talking about an older Dream, but still Arvydas. We're not talking about a Arvydas in his prime, in his heyday, late 80s when he was taking gold medals away from Team USA. That's not the Arvydas we're talking about, but nonetheless, and it's twofold when we think about Arvydas Sabonis. First of all, you're seeing what you would have gotten a glimpse of through his son DeMontis. There were rumors about DeMontis heading to Boston. At this point, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that does for you or anybody else. DeMontis coming to Boston. Can discuss that. But you see some of Arvydas most certainly in DeMontis. But I think you get a more clear picture of who Arvydas was in looking at. I think Nikola Jokic is the modern day Arvydas Sabonis. The Joker is the modern day Arvydas. If it's in butts for candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. I get that. If Arvydas comes to the NBA, and again, there's, if fits and butts are candy and nuts. Talking about what's going on in the world during those days. During my childhood days, during those awesome 80s days. Right. What's going on in the world is the Cold War. Okay, so it's a challenging time. It is a challenging time. Okay. We're looking at comps for the Philadelphia 76ers. One comp, 1999 Houston Rockets. I know what you're saying. That team was older, guys in their mid to late 30s. This Philadelphia 76ers team is full of young Lions. All right, point taken. But what I'm trying to establish is the role acceptance is the same, whether you're talking about a 25-year-old Charles Barkley or a 35-year-old Charles Barkley. his willingness to accept the role that's going to put the team in the best place to succeed, it's going to put the team in the best position to succeed, is the same. 25, 35, or 15, right? And again, we're looking at before Kobe was the Black Mamba, just a talented player on a team that couldn't get over the top. All right. And in order to find his way, he comes up against his Portland Trailblazers team that's loaded, who they're able to beat in the first 2 games. And then Portland just says, enough's enough. We're going to out-talent you because we have the resources. And you're up 3-1, but we're going to win 2 straight games to tie this up at 3-3. And then it goes back to LA for a critical game 7, of course. You know, a decisive game 7 is the better word. And the Lakers go into the fourth quarter down 14 points. Okay. At which time Brian Shaw just goes nuts, bombing threes, which is wild. And the classic Kobe crossover alley-oop to Shaq to give them the lead. But I digress. Their back was against the wall. All right. And folks out there on television land, the new or the young, I don't know about new. Some of the young guys might wonder why. All right, folks? Again, speaking of stacked teams. Okay? First of all, you can barely see Scottie Pippen. Arguably their best overall player. There's Scottie. Okay, so there's Scottie, your starting small forward. And there's Detlef Schrempf, your backup small forward. Either of whom could be starters. Detlef was a problem. So right here you have starting small forward. Okay, all-star. Backup small forward. Fringe all-star. And then throw in Stacey Augmon just because. Stacey Augmon, starter on a number of teams, backup on most teams, is your third string small forward. They have 3 small forwards. Uno, dos, tres. 3. That's just small forwards. You have an all-star, a fringe all-star, and a starter on 20 N.B.A. teams at small forward. Again, folks, we're talking about super teams. Let's talk about point guard. Damon Stoudemire, your starting point guard. Greg Anthony, your backup point guard. What Mike Dunleavy ended up doing is just playing them entire quarters. Damon would play the entire first and third, and then Greg Anthony play the entire second and fourth. That's what he ended up doing. I don't agree with that stuff. I think, again, you need to make a decision. Who's my point guard and who's my backup point guard? So I think Damon was their point guard. He should have been on the court, and then Greg Anthony, you're the backup, period. During the season, you can do, but no. Damon Stoudemire is better than Greg Anthony, particularly this point in time. So you have a starting point guard, and then you have a backup. So that position is locked up, right? You might want to move. You could put Detlef. Let's say, okay, which makes more sense. Scottie is our starter. Stacey Augmon's our backup. I would put Detlef at the 2. Forget about it. I'm not starting a Bonzi Wells, who played well on this team as a young, hungry guy, hungry for minutes. But hold on. Let me stop. Let's put Scottie as the starter, all-star, Stacey as the backup. A backup who would start on 20 teams. That's small forward. You got Damon Stoudemire as your starter, fringe all-star, Greg Anthony as your backup. No one person plays the entire first quarter, other plays plays the entire second. We ain't doing that YMCA stuff. Greg, you're the backup, period. Accept your role or don't. And I don't care about how you feel. You're the backup. That's it. I don't care about you pouting. You can leave. Right? And that's what it comes down to with teams like this, which are unique in just how overwhelmingly talented there are. And this might be a decision the Philadelphia 76ers have to make. If there's guys on their bench that don't want to accept them, particularly on the bench, just leave. We can find somebody on a minimum contract to do the grunt work that we need done in this role. We need you to do the dirty work. We need you to be a glue guy, period. Whatever the other role that you may have had on 29 of these other 30 teams, you don't have on this super team, where you have fringe all-stars. Detlef Schrempf, fringe all-star, who has to come off the bench and accept a role where he'd be a starter on 29 of the other 30 teams. Detlef Schrempf is a starter. Detlef Schrempf was a problem. But now they're put together on this team where they have a chance to win a championship, a real chance to win a championship. Because if they beat the Lakers, they would have beaten the Pacers. So let's just be clear on that. But guys have to take a role. You're going to win a championship, but you're not going to do it the way that you would have envisioned doing it. We have Scotty, his second super team, clear starter. We have Stacey Augmon, clear backup. We have Damon Stoudemire, clear starter. We have Greg Anthony, clear backup. We have Steve Smith at the 2, clear starter. All right, and we have Detlef Schrempf accepting a role as a backup. Detlef Schrempf would have been my 6th man on this team. Okay, guys? Right. Now, power forward. We have Rasheed Wallace, clear starter. Brian Grant, clear backup. Young Lion. Center, who's not pictured, is Arvydas Sabonis, your clear starter. Jermaine O'Neal, clear backup. Who did I miss out? Bonzi Wells. Bonzi Wells would have been your 3rd string shooting guard. Ruben Patterson here, young player, hungry player, your 3rd string small forward. These are 3rd string guys. I don't know who this gentleman is looking tough in the picture, but this team had 2 starting lineups. The backup, okay, so Greg Anthony, Detlef Schrempf, Stacey Augmon, Brian Grant, Jermaine O'Neal. Let's run through that again. Jermaine O'Neal, Brian Grant, Stacey Augmon, or Bonzi Wells, depending on what you're thinking, Detlef Schrempf, and Greg Anthony. That team can make the playoffs. That team is you have a team that has 2 playoff rosters. Let me say that better. You have a team that has 2 playoff lineups within its roster. That was beating the Lakers by 14 points in the 4th quarter before Brian Shaw went crazy and would not miss a 3-point shot. Somebody has to take less. I mean, this is the supreme example of that. We're doggone near the entire roster is starter grade on a majority of other teams. Right? Not sure who this gentleman is here impersonating Arvydas Sabonis. Arvydas missed this picture. Not sure who this gentleman over here is. This team was ridiculous. They put it together when their back was against the wall. Guys just had to sit out. I remember Steve Smith was out there. Scott, they went with that first group. Damon, Steve Smith, Scottie Pippen, Rasheed Wallace, Arvydas Sabonis. I mean, it's difficult to crack that group. That's a ridiculous lineup. Damon Stoudemire, fringe all-star. Steve Smith, all-star. Scottie Pippen, Hall of Famer. Rasheed Wallace, all-star. I don't know about Rasheed in the Hall of Fame. Arvydas Sabonis, fringe all-star. And then as far as I'm concerned, Detlef Schrempf, six-man. Remember, Jermaine O'Neal was young at this particular point in time, so I got to pass over him just on the basis of youth. Six-man Detlef Schrempf. Brian Grant would have been my backup center. My front line would have been Arvydas, Rasheed, and Brian Grant. Brian can come in and play the 4, move Rasheed to the 5. There's my 7. If I have to pick an 8th man, and I know Bonzi did a nice job. Bonzi shot far too much for me on this team. Bonzi came in and was. I don't need Bonzi to shoot, to even think about shooting on this team. Okay? If you want to talk about shot distribution, Steve Smith, shooter. Scottie Pippen, right? Like, you have firepower everywhere. Damon can get buckets. Steve can get buckets. Scottie can get buckets. But for me, the straw that stirs the drink should have been Rasheed Wallace inside. We're going to play through Rasheed. I think Rasheed Wallace was their best scorer from the high post. We're going to start with that. And I know, like, we got, there's just huge bodies. Shaq's in there. RV, like, there's just so much size. But we start with Rasheed, and similar, like the Celtics, you run the screen roll with Rasheed and Steve Smith. A paint bucket or a shooting bucket. And I know Scotty's got to take, but Scotty on this team was in that role of support, was in that role of Iguodala. Like, Scotty can score, but he's not a scorer. Scotty can score. He's not a scorer. Did I say what I just said? Now let me back up off that a bit. That's a little bit harsh. Who is a better pure scorer, Steve Smith or Scottie Pippen? I think it's close. But I think Steve Smith's a better shooter to get to his spot. And Scotty's better going to attacking the basket. So that would have been my screen roll with Rasheed and Steve. My screen roll with Rasheed and Scotty. You can throw Damon in there because Damon can shoot it. But I would be looking for Damon to shoot when it's there, but I would really be looking for Damon to facilitate. And this team, I would look for Damon. And that's, again, I'm thinking back, Bonzi Wells comes in the game and he's shooting. We don't need you to shoot for anything. I know that you can because you're wide open because of all the talent that's out here, but I don't need Bonzi Wells giving me 14 points. Unless they're like 14 layups. But I don't need Bonzi Wells taking any contested shots on this team. If it's a contested shot, that means somebody else has a better shot and he should be passing the ball. If the Lakers had to devote, and I know they did, any sort of defensive attention to Bonzi Wells, that means somebody else on the court has single coverage. Either Rasheed has one person on him, Arvydas, who's a good free throw shooter, has Shaq, for the hacker Shaq to get him in foul trouble. How about that? Shaq actually has to defend somebody who's larger than him. Arvydas at 7'3", broad shoulders. Shaq might have outweighed him, but he was not. Arvydas, bigger, taller, and no cupcake. So no, Bonzi, I don't need you unless it's a layup. Like, shoot when it's open, but you need to be worried about getting the ball to our other more proficient scorers. Rashid, Arvidas, Steve, Scotty. Okay? Those things need to be established. I don't need Brian Grant thinking about shooting unless it's a dunk. Interesting to go back and look. You don't build up a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter unless you're going to your strengths. So I don't doubt that this was happening. And Mike Dunleavy Sr. had it, yes, you're talented. We're more talented. We have more depth. We can wear you down. Again, now we talk about the correct role for a Bonzi Wells to come in and wear Kobe down. You're guarding him full court. You know what I mean? You put all of that energy into defense and rebounding and scoring when it's there to wear him down. Same thing with Stacey Augmon. Okay? Whoever, you can double Shaq. Just harass him, and then get back out. You don't want to leave Brian Shaw because he did torch you. And they had Robert Orr and stuff like that to keep you honest. But do I rather have a Brian Shaw taking a contested closeout shot? By the way, he took a little too many wide open shots. They weren't closing out on him when they made the 14-point, when they closed that 14-point deficit. I do remember, even though it's been a quarter century plus. But a Stacey, a Bonzi, okay, a Greg Anthony, yes, you, okay? This is, again, the same type of thing, the Marcus Smart confusion that we had in Boston. No, Marcus, we don't need you to score. Let me say this again. No, Marcus, we don't need you to score. You can score, but we don't need you to score. We need you to give the ball to JB. And JB, as in Jaylen Brown, when he used to be on the Boston Celtics, when the Celtics used to be contenders. And we need you to give the ball to JT. Okay? And when that's done, and only when that's done, and never in crunch time or crunch moments, do we need you now, Marcus Smart, to look for your offense. Okay? You, Marcus Smart, you take those John Paxson, if we go back to the 93 finals when the Bulls won those first two games, and then would not have a game 7 back in Chicago and got the Suns up out of there. And Jordan kicked it because they doubled him. He kicked it to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was ready. End of discussion. Okay? That's when, Marcus, it's your moment. Right? And not until. The rest of the time, you're defending. You're wearing those guys down. You should wear them down. Brian Grant, when you come in the game, you wear Shaq down. You make that rim run every single possession, methodically, consistently, religiously. You're making Shaq have to come back and you're not jogging down the court with him. No, you're sprinting to put your hand up to get in front of the defense, to beat them to half court, beat them to the free throw line so that your hand is up. They can throw the pass over the top and you can dunk it. That's the offense we need from you. Point blank dunk, no questions about it. We don't need to give the ball to Brian Grant and have him create anything. I don't care if he's capable of doing it. That's not his role on this team. You know who's also capable of doing it in his mid to late 30s? Arvidas Sabonis. So that's what we're going with. And no, I'm not apologizing in advance, in the moment, or after the fact to Brian Grant or anybody else. Because it's not about your feelings or your market value or your delusions of grandeur or whatever. It's about winning, which will take care of all the rest of those things. Your feelings, your market value, and your delusions of grandeur are taken care of if and when you win. Or you can lose, as this team did, and be an afterthought. People remember them. We know, people that were there. But they're an afterthought in NBA history. A team with 2 playoff lineups. 2 lineups of that could have made the playoffs. Not 1, 2. I reiterate this. And more talent after that. Those 2 lineups don't include Ruben Patterson. Okay? there has to be role acceptance. Shout out to Jeff Van Gundy, where I got the term from. Doing good work for the Los Angeles doing good work for the Los Angeles Clippers, was doing good work for the Boston Celtics before he was allowed to be headhunted and take the success with him across the country. Right? Can the Sixers figure it out? Yeah, obviously, anything can happen. Will the 76ers figure it out? I mean, there's reasons for them to figure it out. All right. But, folks, it's going to go off the rails at some point. What do I mean by that? Am I being a naysayer? Am I being what I mean is you got three guys, right? And they're all adults. And so just because it goes off the rails with these guys doesn't mean it can't be brought back onto the rails, right? LeBron James, okay. He's a conglomerate. The man is a conglomerate. There's a person, and then there is the global influence that he wields. So it's similar, right? Same thing with Michael Jordan. And you can be around Michael Jordan, but there's never any doubt that you are around a global power broker. Yes, I'm, all this, but I'm a power broker. I exert influence on the world stage. Right? That's my day job. And my night job is I play sports. But by day, I'm wielding influence across the planet. And that's not any stretch of the imagination. Cultural and financial and economic influence worldwide. Okay, when you have cultural influence, you have economic influence. Those two combined and lead to political influence. So that's LeBron, power broker. Jaylen Brown, younger in his career, right? Knowledgeable, active, Players Association leadership. Right? He's a power broker as well. And then N.B.A, the longest standing, the longest tenured Sixer, it's his hometown. Right? People are human. So you're going to have your moments. I am saying, particularly in year one, where this is still fresh, that these three, influential players, varying levels of influence, but all influential, can put their, they're not putting their self-interest aside, folks. Because all of them are knowledgeable enough to understand that their self-interests are going to be greatly, the best, the what will expand their influence the most, if I can frame this correctly. Right? And these are folks that are concerned about, I don't want to make it out to be like they're pinky in the brain, bent on global domination, though they may be. But, they're competitors on the court, but also in these different realms, cultural, economic, political. And what will best serve their brand is the winning of a championship. I don't think there's any question for all of them. I think that you have three adults. Okay? Is what I'm saying. Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, when they were adults. Did they have their differences? Yes. Did those differences manifest themselves over time? Yes, they did. Have they was there a time of, disconnect where those differences were preeminent? Yes. And fortunately, over the course of time, they were able, as I understand it, to mend those fences, which is, and which is great. Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, they're both from South Carolina, and different personalities. I get that. But year one, particularly when it's fresh and new, put those differences aside, the greater good, win the championship, okay, and then go from there. Championship, and that it's not, it doesn't take you into some kind of utopia. We understand that. We've seen it happen. Players win championships, and you wake up the next day, right? Right. David Foster Wallace, Infinite Jest, impactful book. No, I have not read the thousands of pages of the book. Yes, I watched a number of interviews, particularly David Foster Wallace, because he's a fascinating person. Right. And Essential Theme of Infinite Jest, again, a book that I have not read. Award-winning book. Plutonium Dense. Is that what happens when, you achieve the thing, the great goal, and your status is raised and your material needs are met, your social needs are met, your cultural needs are met, your economic needs are met, and you wake up and you still feel the same as you did when you were broke, anonymous, alone, frustrated, all those things that you didn't have when you were going through the process, right? Validation, socialization, investment, right? Now you have all that. People are deferential. People are congratulatory. People are receptive, want to work with you, right? So you have the material things, you have the social graces and all the rest of that stuff. And you feel the same. So what now? Will Smith talks about this as well. Difference between rock bottom and cliff top. Okay, the point is, this Golden State, this Portland Trailblazers team, they didn't get to the top of the mountain. But the Boston Celtics team most certainly did get to the top of the mountain, and then had some trouble. And this was beyond KG's injury in 2009. They had some trouble staying at the top of the mountain, even though they made it to 2 finals in 3 years. And then for some reason, Danny Ainge was too wise and wanted to invest more in Rajon Rondo because he was the point guard of the future, than giving Ray Allen the money he deserved. How did that work out? Crazy. When people are too smart. Did we forget that, folks? Danny Ainge was concerned about investing in Rajon Rondo, so he had all his money rather than giving Ray Allen the money he deserved, which put Ray in Miami and a lot of animus. How did Rajon Rondo end up working out in Boston or anywhere else? Before or after he threw whatever at the screen, during their film session, breaking the screen, of course, which he paid for, and then having a situation where him and Doc Rivers are toe-to-toe. Doc Rivers, born and raised in Chicago. Rajon Rondo has been a contrarian without a cause his entire life, and he has the right to be. But certainly not an individual who has built up any team culture as a leader. Even though he plays a point, he's not the rah-rah guy and the let's go in for the Gipper guy, but he's also not the person to pat anybody on the back, to encourage somebody, right? He's on the other end of the spectrum, as far as I'm concerned, from Steve Nash, who does all of those intentional team building, morale building, culture building practices, intentional practices to create an environment where people feel at ease, feel encouraged, feel appreciated, and want to give their best effort, rather than environments where people do not want to give their best effort, but only do so because of the contractual obligations. So I say again, this was Danny Ainge. When you're outsmart yourself. Yeah, Rondo, you attach your sail to Rajon Rondo, a mercurial, talented, but, who does not have anywhere near the intangibles of a one Mr. Ray Allen, who, by the way, was the veteran to encourage a one Mr. Rajon Rondo to excel in his role in the 2008 season for the Celtics to win the championship. Ray Allen took that role, that Steve Nash role, for Rajon Rondo. And then as Rondo's, begins to, that's just his personality, though. Not reciprocate that. Well, you helped me, but I don't owe you anything. Well, that's fine. But I think Danny Ainge owed the Boston Celtics to navigate that relationship in a better fashion. And obviously, hindsight's 2020, but it was ridiculous to me then. And just like it was ridiculous to me then when the Oklahoma City Thunder, could not retain James Harden because they had to pay Serge Ibaka. How has that worked out? And where is Serge Ibaka? Thought it was ridiculous then. Same people that are telling me now, Celtics, the second apron, we could. Okay. I see it working out the same. By the way, that's what I said then. That's what I'm saying now. That's what I'll continue to say. If I have to eat crow, I'll eat it. Fry it up. Put some hot sauce on it. I'm ready. It was stupid to get rid of Drew. Bottom line, end of story. Well, tell me about the second apron. Stupid. You get rid of everybody else but Drew Holiday. Moronic. Talk to me about these younger players taking dramatic leaps. No, you just messed up. That's what you did. Just like in retrospect, hindsight. Again, Monday morning quarterback, it is what it is. All right, I know we're getting, let's just go across. SandCity by 4. We in the building. We, you know what I mean? It's late, but it's Friday, and I'm ready to get out my and let the party. Hey, tonight. I was off key. I apologize on that. Because you get you got to start. You got to get off. Hold on. What the heezy? Come on now. So, let's hold on. Let me get this right. Yeah. Oh, I just sang a couple notes that was off, and it kind of bring me back to my my karaoke, which I still do, not as much as I need to. Shout out to Jason McIntyre, straight fire. Got to lock in with J Mac as we get into football season, and then just in general, got to get my lock in with J Mac on the herd, grinder, worker. Okay. Did I agree with Colin Cowherd's take on Jaylen Brown being too smart? Absolutely not. preposterous, and he knows it himself. Okay, clickbait, driving ratings. I get all that. Jaylen Brown, too smart. Thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Okay. All right. I know it's a business. I know people. You need to get people to tune in. Sell, sell, sell. Okay. Always be closing. I get all that. Take was preposterous. All right, but before we get into the delicate the building of a team and a culture, which is what the Sixers, which is where they're at, and going into those uncharted waters. I say all that while fully backing and being bullish that they are the favorites to win the NBA champions, not the favorites to win the championship. Okay, but they have to go through these teeming waters, which I think they'll be able to do. Bob Myers knows his business, certainly does, in terms of bringing this team together. Nick Nurse knows his business. I rock with Nick Nurse. And you got Ruben, the owner, who I think is gonna create. So I think that's something we also need to, their leadership at every single level is conducive. But now we look at the snowball effect, right? That we're okay. Well, the Sixers, they got to pay this guy. They got you have your stars, folks. If you build it. What is this guy looking at? If you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. Right? Yeah, I'm out. Trying to get this championship, man. Right? You want to be in the hinterlands, on the outskirts, or you want to be in the mix? You want to make your full money in the far reaches of the empire, or do you want to make it a little bit less money, but be smack dab in the capital, and then use that extra exposure to build your brand, to get those revenues back, and to set you up for your next move? What do you want to do? Okay, you want to stay in Podunk? Okay, or you want to come on down to Philly? What we doing? We doing Podunk, or you gonna be in the city of brotherly love? You gonna be here with us? Okay, so if you build it, that's what I was kind of over here. Got a lot of books I need to get into. I can't step away from my cold media, most certainly. If you build it, they will come. All right. So, snowball effect. I saw this happening in Miami, right? Talk about Klay Thompson, talk about Bradley Beal, and now the 76ers, who have already stacked the deck. Now we're getting into right, them having two legitimate starting lineups. Anthony Simons is young and hungry. Tavius Caldwell Pope. They got Wade, right? And these guys have major roles. Not just as the bench mob and shout out to Mike Brown. Shout out to the Knicks. Right? We saw the importance of the bench mob. Right? We saw that. No two ways about it. And so the Sixers are building up these guys to come in. They're committed to the process. They know they're, to just be those energy guys in key moments, to give LeBron, to give N.B.A. those rests that they need. Folks, Maxey, JB, Edgecombe, they ain't need no rest, man. They on that AAU grassroots, man. We talking about practice, man. We talking about not a game, not a game. We talking about practice, man. Okay, AI out there averaging 41 minutes a game, majority of his career. Not a game. Not we talking about practice, man. I play the game. JB, Maxi, young Edgecombe. Oh, they gonna play. They they woo, that's 0 to 100. They JB, woo. He ain't forgotten. He ain't forgotten, folks. These games when they come to Boston, gonna be bananas. Gonna be bananas. All right, we Boston in number one sports city many years. It is what it is, right? The culture. This is a Boston, the Commonwealth. Good people, hardworking people, blue collar people, workaday people. Okay. Have there been issues in the past in Boston culturally? Yes. Have there been issues other places? We'll talk about the Central Park Five in New York. We'll talk about bombing, housing development in Philly. There's been incidents everywhere. That's the part of our American experience. There's been incidents everywhere. Okay? Come to Boston. It's not about black and white. It's about our team and your team. Now, again, in any city, it is about culture. You in this neighborhood, A. You in that neighborhood, A. You in the third. But we already know that. That's just the composition of any city on the face of the earth. It's broken down along ethnic lines. We know this. So that's not but it's going to be about the old school Sixers, Dr. J, Celtics, Larry Bird, getting down, baby. Woo! It's on. And what this snowball is telling me, what this avalanche is telling me, woo, Celtics, woo! You ain't asked for it, but you got it. You ain't asked for this smoke, but you got it. Paul George, I mean, he want to come into town, be a good teammate, be a good dude, just no. Now you got to get in that ring, man. You got to get in that square circle. Tatum, and woo-wee. I'm not saying the Celtics, but I'm saying there's targets on your back that you didn't ask for. I think if JB, yes, the situation was a situation. It was tense. It was strained. People, right? It wasn't going to be what we're talking about. There was going to be no Steve Nash effect. It was just going to be icy. It was going to be distant, which I don't think anybody really likes. You have to do it, but you don't like your job. They don't like their, you know what I mean? Right? Those situations when you're, nobody likes the job, nobody likes each other, but you have to do it because you got to put food on the table, and you just get through it. You look past people, conversation at a minimum, you isolate yourself, even though you're in a communal setting. And something central is lost. The human connection, which we need. We are social animals. It is not good for man to be alone. That's the universal man, woman, people. It's not good. Right? And when you're in those, tense, distant, standoffish environments, we don't get the connections that we don't get the connection that we need. All right. And so there's a loss, a very important, notable social and emotional loss. But that's the way it has to be sometimes, is the point. It's not always going to be the band of brothers, the all for one, one for all. You have to, as a wise man once told me, take the good with the bad. You have to have those rocky times. And that's what the Celtics were unwilling to do. And so now they got a target on the back. Okay? Got a target on the back. Those home games are going to be bonkers. The Atlantic Division in the N.B.A. and Adam Silver, there's a method to the madness because you were right to wait until LeBron made his decision before you put the schedule together. We need eyeballs on these matchups. Okay? Wherever the Sixers go, Sixers, Knicks, Sixers, Celtics, those games at home, on the road, bonkers. Bonkers. It's going to be turned up. So, hey, it's pressure on both sides, as there always is. Sixers, you got to deliver. As Will Chamberlain said, nobody roots for Goliath. You got to deliver. So, and the Celtics as the underdog, you can't get punked. You got to, if you lose, you go down swinging. But you can't lose 20, 30, 40, and that's what the Sixers are going to be trying to do. So, and again, N.B.A., this is not more instructive for us. Oh, these teams, these super teams, they're bad for our this, they're bad for our that. And they're taking away from this, and they're taking away from that. On and on and on. Taking a look at our updates. Skydiver got caught in a tree. Fortunately, they were able to get untangled and out. They were able to get untangled and get out. I'm glad to hear that. So we'll see how. Woo. Huh? Again, plenty of time before the season. But the culture and momentum, is shifting. They are shifting. All right. Are we? It's a good graphic there. Tavius Caldwell Pope taking his talents to the city of brotherly love. And we'll see who else as they fill out their roster and get up and on their championship march. Take this here. Keep those together. How's everybody out there doing in television land? Friday night lights. SandCity in the building. To and through, Happy to be here. A beautiful thing. LeBron to Philly, that is all the rage. The gift that keeps on giving. But then the ripple effects, right? That are going to go across the NBA, and in terms of where things stand. In terms of where things stand in the association. Let's not dither here, folks. The game has changed. The game has changed. And it's about now the response and reactions to the different landscape, right? I've established the Heat is the favorite. The 76ers as the favorites. When you're talking about championships, you're talking about the Highlander. There can only be one. So, New York Knicks, Cleveland Cavaliers, Miami Heat. Okay. Your legacies are as much at stake now. Right. Okay, based on how you respond to, you're thinking that you're going to have to, teams are eyeing the Knicks and planning and preparing, which they certainly still have to do because the Knicks are bad. All right, but now you add a super team into the conversation. And the calculus is different. Calculus is different. So let's take a look at that. As SandCity Sports rolls on. All right, so we gotta say, but do. So how are we feeling? All right, as I mess this up. I'll make sure to get it. All right, now we can X out of that. And we Eastern Conference, pound for pound, the best conference. This was before LeBron took his talents to the city of brotherly love. Okay, and of course this graphic is before, right? Okay. So I don't like this. This is our top. These are our top 4 teams. Okay, this iteration, I would say, Knicks, Sixers. Okay, now you take Wade away and you add LeBron. Right. So now Sixers, Knicks. All right, and we it's not that you lose, it's how you lose, folks. One or more of these teams is going to fall off. Meaning they're going to fall out of the conference. They're going to fall out of conference contention. Never mind championship contention, they're going to fall out of conference contention. Okay, so who's going to be? Who's going to find themselves outside of the top four and possibly outside of the protected playoff rankings? Okay, I see the Sixers setting the pace. I see the Knicks trailing them. All right. But now we look at a Miami team that's going to be as constituted, Giannis and Bam, Wiggins being in the mix. All right. You know, in days of old, this team or teams could have possibly added a player like Drew Holiday, who in my view would love to go to Miami and reunite with Giannis, play with Bam, also Wiggins, and put themselves into contention. Not sure if that is fiscally possible with the second apron. With the luxury tax, you know, you take a hit in the tax, but you can have those players together, which people would want to see. So can Miami keep pace? You know, can Wiggins be that third option, do the little things, make Giannis, Bam's life easier? We know the Heat are going to have good culture, but they have two All-Stars and a question mark with Wiggins. You got two All-Stars and a question mark. Okay, let's go to Cleveland. You have three All-Stars, but Harden is no spring chicken. So you have Mobley and Mitchell, right? You know, then you have Harden, who you don't know what you're going to get. You know, and I do know what I'm going to get, which is inconsistency. And Jared Allen, who's a grinder, committed to the process. Strus, you know, a Heat person committed. You know, so you got two grinders. All right, workhorses. But then some rumblings in Cleveland. You know, Donovan is similar to James. He rocks the beat of his own drum. You know, and he points fingers. Talented, but you know, I question their togetherness. I need to see it. Which brings us to the Boston Celtics. You know, Tatum's world. Tatum first, second. You know, third option. Okay. And now we have guys that you got to be careful what you wish for because you might get it. You know, does Peyton Pritchard want the smoke? Not possibly. You know, and I'm pulling for Peyton to get the job done and to be able to be a starter averaging 15, 16, 17 points. If that's how they see them. Again, for me, you already have Tatum, George, and Derek White. Okay, Mitchell's not, you know, Mitchell's going to be eating glass. Do you need all four of your top scorers in the starting lineup versus having Pritchard come off the bench where he's going to get more usage and finish the game? But You know, so everything's running through Tatum. Derek White, Paul George, be ready. Peyton, be ready, and Mitchell's going to eat glass. Another team in this bracket is talent-wise would be Detroit. Similarly, you have questions about Jalen Duran and his contract and his commitment to the team once that contract is ironed out. You got Orlando, who in my view is more talented than Detroit. Suggs, Bane, Wagner, Paolo. Okay. The Sixers have to be ready to deal with the adversity, which is certainly going to come to them. The pressure that's going to be on them, don't think that's unfamiliar to these guys. But, I see a correlation to the 99 Rockets team, whereas, Embiid is going to be in and out of the lineup. LeBron is going to be in and out of the lineup. He's going to play, but he's going to need to be rested. So it's these three here that are going to need to do the lion's share. They're going to need to find that continuity, find that connection, find that rhythm, because they're going to be the straws, and Nick Nurse certainly knows his business offensively. Okay. Maxey, Edgecombe, and Brown are going to be the ones to impose on the opposition. Like, you might be this, that, and the third. We are just young lions on the, roaming the Pride lands, and you have no match for us, right? Okay, so Maxey wins that matchup against White. Edgecombe, Pritchard, Pritchard fan, I give the advantage to Edgecombe. And then JB and JT can be a wash, but that's, 2 losses and a tie, matchup-wise. All right, LeBron advantage over Paul George, and that's all right. So it's 4 losses and a tie, lineup-wise. Okay, you want to go to the Knicks, Brunson and Maxey. I'm going to call that a wash. Both are going to be, Edgecombe and Hart. I favor Edgecombe. Brown and Bridges. I favor Brown. Close with, Hart. He's a vet. He's wily. Bridges. Okay. OG and Braun. All right. It's Braun. Embiid and Towns. We can call that a wash if you want, but that's 1 tie, 1 loss, 2 losses, 3 losses. So 3 losses lineup-wise and a tie, and 2 ties. Let's take a look at Cleveland. Maxey over Harden. Mitchell over Edgecombe. Brown over Strus. LeBron and Mobley's. That's a good one. I'll give that a tie. And Embiid over Allen, but Embiid's not going to be right. And then let's go to the Heat. Embiid, Bam. I'll give that a wash. We'll call that a tie. Braun and Giannis, advantage Giannis. Wade. Brown and Wiggins, advantage Brown. Edgecombe, Hardaway, advantage Edgecombe. Maxey, Mitchell, advantage Maxey. All right, folks, as we get in the slice of life, as we burn the midnight oil on the East Coast, folks on the left coast, SandCity in the building, working out some technical things, still here to do the Passion Project. It's been about LeBron to Philly today, folks, and that's not going to change in our slice of life as we wind down for the DJ Crown. All right. Decisions. So we're going to share. Sharing is caring. All right, let's get into Slice of Life. Let's go. Been in a place before, one in a place. If you go back, it may not be the same. You went back to Cleveland. Kind of want to leave those memories where they are. I get that. At the same time, you did the same thing in Cleveland, so you could have done the same thing in Miami. To me, it's a more compelling narrative in Philadelphia to have won a championship since 1983.
Myself in that camp was thinking that maybe it would be a hometown reunion with Cleveland or the poetic ending of going back to Miami. Ramona, why wasn't it?
You know, I spoke to Rich Paul about that about an hour ago. And he said for a lot of the time, he thought it was going to end up being Miami. That seemed to be a nice fit in that story. But he said, you know, when you've been to a place before, when you've won in a place before, if you go back, it may not be the same. You kind of want to leave those memories where they were. You want to leave those memories as they are. And they had a great time together when he won 2 titles down in Miami. You'll never top 2016 in Cleveland. I mean, that was an amazing story to cover, an amazing run. And so I think this appeal of something new is attractive at this stage in his career. Plus, let's not forget about Tyrese Maxey. I can't say enough about what a ray of sunshine this guy is, and LeBron knows it. Like, yeah, it's the kind of guy you want to play with.
A lot of us, and I'll put myself in that camp, was thinking that maybe it would.
Wants to play with Maxey. I can dig it. All right. What do you think?
By LeBron feels like Brady to Tampa. This is not KD to the Warriors. I mean, the Sixers haven't won an Eastern Conference championship in like 25 years. I think only the Hornets and the Wizards have had longer droughts. This is not ring chasing. It's Tampa, Brady. Brady's like, okay, I've got a defensive head coach. We don't draft receivers well. I need wide receivers, head coach with an offensive sensibility. Maybe I go to a little weaker division so I can stack some wins, in my final couple years. LeBron, similarly.
All right. Logical, straightforward. All right. Let's talk about more fuel for the fire, folks. Some of the things coming out of Boston. Talking about the numbers and the analytics. Now, all of a sudden, Derek White is the equivalent of Jaylen Brown.
Who's the better player? They're not arguing who's the better player tonight or even in this playoff series. When they say value, they're looking at what a player's production is versus how much he costs. And the Celtics were a better team this year with Derek White on the court versus Jaylen Brown. Now you can debate that and say that that's just not true, and I'm not defending their side. I'm not trying to say I agree, but I'm glad the numbers that they have say that when Derek White played and Jaylen Brown played, they were better with Derek White. That Derek White defensively had an elite season. He was first team all defense, and that he cost $20 million less. They're not arguing who's the better player.
Well, I'm glad.
They're not.
It's good to hear, Wendy. It's not an argument. No, sorry, it is not. We got lights all over the place here. Let me go here. It's like the lighting is good, but you don't want to strain yourself either. Lighting is good, but we don't want to strain ourselves. Okay, moving right along. It's just a ridiculous narrative. If I was the Celtics, I would push back on that, throwing more fuel on the fire.
Back on. process is back on. We've been shutting the process down for the last, I don't know how many years. The process been over, but now the process is back. The process is back on. We've been shutting the process down for the last, I don't know how many years. The process been over, but now the process is back. The process.
I like how JB includes his security personnel in his. The process is back on, and he's got that. We need to add that. We need to add that. All right, this is LeBron today.
I tell you, I've been hurt before. With a pan, I don't know. I remember being broke. I stole.
Right and early.
I tell you, I've been hurt before. With a pan, I don't know. I remember being broke. I stole.
He's up early, gets his workout in. He changes the N.B.A. landscape. In a heartbeat. Couple more, slice of life. Wrong. Thank you, Wendy. We're gonna run this clip back because we're not in the right place. Let's get in the right place. Couple more, slice of life. Let's go.
Maybe ask yourself, why did LeBron choose the Philadelphia 76ers? And if we didn't have any information, like a lot of us didn't yesterday, it does seem shocking. But if you pay attention to what he said in his explanation on social media, it all of a sudden starts to make a lot more sense. And it's basic, but it's important, which is that he valued winning a championship this season as number one. And, you know, for the last couple of weeks, we all thought, we were all trying to figure out, what does happiness mean? If happiness is his most important thing, what else does that mean? Does that mean golf? Does that mean family? Does that mean where he's comfortable, where he can live in a kind of house that he wants to live in, etc.? Well, he defined happiness with his choice being the winning a championship. And as soon as he decided that, whether he decided that 10 days ago or 10 hours ago, it put the Golden State Warriors and the Miami Heat in a tough spot, because even with LeBron joining, I just don't believe, and I don't think the league would believe, and I feel like LeBron either, that they are a championship team this year. The second thing is when you look at how important it was to have a comfort level with who's going to be on the roster. And I think Tyrese Maxey, being a clutch client, being a guy he's known for a really long time, that's a big factor here. Who fits winning where a clutch client is there that he can really partner with, that he's got a real history with. Even though Cleveland is home, he doesn't have a deep history with Donovan Mitchell, with James Harden, with those players. He has a history with Tyrese Maxey. They've known each other for a long time. They can say, let's work together on this. And he also had multiple conversations with Joel Embiid during this process to figure it out how this was going to be. And so once you listen to what he said, it really makes his decision more clarifying. And maybe it was the right decision, maybe it was the wrong decision, but I will say this: Philadelphia is now an instantaneous title contender. They certainly were not a month ago, but they certainly are now. And LeBron is a part of that. And that's where LeBron wants to be, especially if he's playing for the minimum. Maybe asking yourself, why did LeBron choose the Philadelphia 76ers? And
I'm not asking myself that, Wendy, but thank you. We got history in the making. It's a big perk, think.
You off guard as well.
Well, think about it, Malika. You were watching Asia Wilson and Caitlin Clark, and I'm in a basketball gym with 2,500 people, and everybody's sitting up here trying to ask me questions about the decision. So the whole world is on fire right now. And excuse my dress code, okay? I tried the best that I could. I know I usually come better than this, but listen, if my first thought is that I wanted to say, you know what, I said this is not bad. Matter of fact, this puts Philly right there up with the New York Knicks, right? They're going to be looking eye to eye with them. My second thought was how big of a loss for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we could dive into that later on. But then I looked and I said, oh, LeBron James have an effect on Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, this is what he has been waiting on. He has been waiting on
this caught you off guard as well.
Been waiting on what?
A guy like LeBron James to come in and not only play alongside of him, but be a mentor to him. I believe that we're going to see the best version of Joel Embiid because of LeBron James. LeBron James' IQ and what he brings to the table, what he brings off the floor, how to be a professional, how to take care of your body. We're going to see a different version of Joel Embiid, but also Malika, Wendy. You know, when I get to thinking, right, I thought about this. This is not a 2-year deal that LeBron James signed. This is a lifetime deal that LeBron James signed. See, everything LeBron James and Rich Paul do is strategically planned out for the future, right? And so I've got to thinking about their relationship with Josh Harris. I got to thinking about all the teams that Josh Harris owned, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Washington guy like LeBron James to come in the Commanders, right? And then I got to thinking about, LeBron James, after basketball, wants to be an owner. LeBron James loves the business side of it. How do you get in the business? You start by developing a relationship right now. So, yes, he does want to compete for a championship, but this is bigger than just this 2-year, $8 million deal. The Commanders, right? And then I got to thinking about,
Yep. And here we are. Sometimes the way things work out, hard, painful, but it's in your best interest. LeBron James taking his talents to the city brotherly love. Philadelphia 76ers, who have not won a championship since 1983, the awesome 80s, when I was a young warthog. Shout out to Dr. J. Shout out to Moses Malone. Foe. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hey, SandCity. Go. I am your host, Dr. J, known as Andre. Man, thank you so much